All right, everybody, what's going on? Good late morning. Hope you guys are having a good Tuesday. Time for the routing guide post-mortem. I know the video I did this morning kind of discussed this sort of thing in pretty good depth, but people like the routing guide post-mortems, and we got an hour before the stream with the Hawk's Nest anyway. So it's a good video to put out there just when, there isn't a lot else going on, and it just kind of helps pass the time. And it might give people a different angle to think about. So once again, streaming with the Hawk's Nest in about an hour if you're watching this right after upload. So tune in. We're going to talk about the Colts game. We're going to talk about this excuse me, this Rams game coming up here. Hopefully I have my voice when we stream. And also remember, Seahawks on SI had an article go live earlier this morning. Going to have another article go live in about an hour. So check them both out. I'll probably push them out in the community tab. All right, guys, let's take a minute so I can tell you about Sleeper, a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat on sports games in real time with other users. You can get the fastest scores, blazing fast sports news and sports alerts right at your fingertips. And of course, you can use Sleeper to play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. This is the way sports were meant to be enjoyed together. So download Sleeper today. Use promo code SBN to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. And you can pair that with another promo they have right now where you can get a $20 entry free with no deposit required. So get both of those things going. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states and growing. So check out Sleeper today. Get to it and go have some fun with sports this year. All right, so I think we mostly know what's going on right now in terms of playoff stuff. Seattle's pretty much got it. It would take a massive, massive occurrence of very unlikely events for them to not have it. So honestly, right now, when you're talking about what Seattle wants, it's almost like there's more focus on Atlanta than there is Seattle. And we got good news here. Not only did Atlanta kind of help Seattle out a little bit by beating Tampa, although that's kind of feeling a little bit irrelevant at this point because it's not like Tampa's in contention directly with Seattle for a playoff spot on any level. But Atlanta winning, I mean, that was a little bit of a savior game for them. Not playoff wise, but reducing their utter humiliation. So Atlanta's 5-9, and two of their last three games are winnable, right? They've got 3 games left, 2 of them are winnable. And let's look at Tankathon here real quick. That pick that they're sending to the Rams that we've all had eyes on this whole season, currently sits at 10th overall, which is not that bad. That given how bad Atlanta has been most of this year, the 10th overall pick actually kind of feels like a miracle. And here's the thing. If they win 2 more games, get to 7 wins, look at all the teams that they might bounce ahead of, or rather behind in the draft order, right? They have a slightly stronger SOS than Miami. So if Miami, who played terribly last night, goes on a cold streak here and loses at least 2 more games, then Atlanta is likely to be behind Miami. Kansas City, no more Mahomes, probably going to lose out now. Very good chance Atlanta can finish behind KC. Minnesota, who knows? I think they have a rough schedule going forward, but they're playing a little bit better lately. But very possible they end up losing out. They're still not a very good team. If they lose out and Atlanta wins 2 of their last 3, then Atlanta goes behind them as well. And you've also got Dallas. Dallas, they're basically out of it now. Would not shock me if they kind of just have the air go out of the balloon and they lose out. That happens. Atlanta can go behind them as well. So this pick, which currently sits at 10th, if Atlanta can play well the rest of the way, win those 2 games they have a pretty decent chance of winning, and they get some things to go the right way right behind them, This pick could end up falling all the way to about 15, maybe even 16. Depends on if Baltimore can lose out, which is, I don't know about that, but it's possible. They don't have a super easy schedule, and their strength of schedule also needs to drop just a tiny little bit, I believe, but that's possible. So if Atlanta ends up sending the Rams a mid-round pick in the first round, or excuse me, a middle first-round pick, that's not so bad. That makes the trade they made not even that terrible, because remember, this draft is bad. This is a bad year to have a mid-first round pick, really. If you're going to pick in the first round at all, you want to be right at the top so you can get Arvell Reese, or if you need a quarterback, Mendoza, or whoever. So Atlanta is still maybe going to kind of bail themselves out of, I mean, they're still bad and they still did a dumb thing, but this would prevent the worst. I mean, other than that, I mean, the Bears won, but what else was going to happen in that game? Ravens won, which strength of schedule kind of barely matters now. It's just kind of something we talk about because we have nothing else to talk about. Chargers, Chiefs, that didn't really mean anything either way. Bills, Patriots, again, kind of irrelevant to us, I think. Commanders, Giants, we beat the Commanders, so that helps the strength of victory. But again, looking at it, it's so hard for strength of victory or strength of schedule to actually affect anything here. Raiders lose to the Eagles. I mean, I guess that's not ideal, but again, what else were you expecting? There's nothing to say here. Jaguars win. That's cool, right? We beat Jacksonville. Strength of victory booster, just a little bit. Houston beats Arizona, which I would have preferred it go the other way at this point, but it's not a big deal. It's not a big concern. It's mostly just I don't want Arizona to have a top 5 pick, which they are very close to having. The getting a top 5 pick is the only way that Arizona is going to get somebody really intimidating in this draft, because it's such a lackluster draft, and they may do it. I'm hoping they can win at least one game down the stretch to kind of mitigate that, but that's the only angle there. And I guess strength of victory would have been a little bit boosted because we beat Arizona twice, but again, what are the odds that matters? Green Bay losing was great. That puts a complete Green Bay collapse on the table here. Seattle could benefit from that, although they would have to completely collapse themselves. Rams kind of teased us a little bit. That game was close. Detroit was leading for a chunk of it. It looked good, and then just didn't work out. Detroit losing is not the worst thing in the world for Seattle, though, if you want to play it safe, but obviously we want the division. Although I will say that even if the Lions had won this game, you'd probably be looking at needing to win on Thursday anyway. So it's not like that changes. The Saints did us a big favor, pushing the Panthers down, making it just a little bit harder for that team to win the division, which I'm trying to avoid. Niners won, which, again, what were you expecting? But it'd sure be nice if they could get knocked off or upset at some point here. They're being very annoying. Cowboys lost, which, hey, I appreciate that because Minnesota got bounced anyway, and Dallas is now effectively out of it. So, good result. And Pittsburgh won last night, which helps the strength of victory a little bit. So, there's some good things happening here. Not perfect, but it was actually a pretty good week. But we're at the point where a lot of this stuff doesn't matter. Or it matters such a little amount that it's, I mean, we're going to think about these things because there's nothing else to think about for a lot of these games, but man, we just need to win our games. And if we slip up, we're probably a wild card team, and if we don't, we're going to win the division. And it kind of feels like what these other teams do is only going to have so much effect on that. So that's your rooting guide post-mortem. We did get a lot of good results. The Packers losing, Panthers losing, Cowboys losing, technically Steelers winning, even though if that's very minor. The Jaguars winning, Commanders winning is slightly good. It was a good week, man. But it's one of those things where, again, it feels like what Atlanta is doing is actually a little bit more, if you're looking for extracurricular activity, I think it's kind of all about that. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks. Streaming shortly with the Hawks Nest. See you guys there. Seahawks on SI. Don't forget to check it out. And go Hawks.